Hello, Namaskar, friends. So I'm back, and I want to talk about post-colonial literature today. So, what is post-colonial literature? For that, first we need to understand what is post-colonialism, and then we can understand the post-colonial literature. So, post-colonial literature it is a it's a new addition to the lexicon of literary study and is used to highlight a particular genre of writing. That is the post colonial literature and writing, uh, which is written after getting the independence. That is why we say post colonial literature. So we have different around 1900s the timelines vary if we talk about individual nations, but if we talk about like in generality 1900 onwards, the British Empire, who covered most of the globe, Indian subcontinent and other parts of Asia and other parts of the world, it started to get its independence, like Africa, Australia, Canada, Ireland, and many Caribbean islands, as well as numerous and scattered smaller possessions. So, the writings that we study in the post-colonial literature comes from these regions, the authors from these regions, right? So now let's talk about the post-colonial literature, the themes of these of these texts. So apartheid is one of the struggles that had been faced by the post-colonial uh, people or the colonized people. So naturally this remains an important theme, the system of apartheid or the apartheid system. Second one is tradition and modernity. Tradition and modernity in respect with the post colonialism again questions that what new structures will replace the socio-political framework of a colonial rule. And there are several texts like Narayan, the English teacher, Naipaul's A House for Mr. Bishwas, Things Fall Apart by H.E.B. So these are certain works which definitely talk about this theme of tradition and modernity, which makes our understanding of the post-colonial literature uh, quite comprehensive and easy to understand. The next is gender and post colonialism. When we talk about gender and post colonialism, let's not forget that the feminist aspect, uh, it got its importance, and the voices started, the women got an articulation, and at the same time the voices were heard. So post colonial literature has a lot of feminism in a sense, uh, which talks about, the distinct voices and the agendas which got uh, heard in a post colonial literature. Example, The Grass is Singing by Doris Lessing and others. Well, we can talk about the colonial stereotypes also in this, but talking about each and individual theme in detail will take several lectures, I mean. So here we are just trying to shorten the length and give you the points, the bullet points, if I can call them so. Then the third comes the linguistic issues. Okay, in the lingua franca of the British Empire, we all know have been important for the colonized people, and since and therefore post after the colonization got over, or in the post colonial literature, the we see the reflection of the same. Gugi wa Thiong'o argues in Decolonizing the Mind, the Politics of Language in African Literature, 1986. It becomes very important for texts like these. They are filtering and giving the exact picture or scenario to the readers to make them understand and aware of the situation. The next is the new and traditional forms and genres, right? And the new forms, that hybridity, right? And other forms, they got their space, and the other ones, they got evolved, and there were new genres created in the process. And for example, the Caribbean origin, which is a very good example of the same. If we talk about Ulysses by James and other writers, Salman Rushdie and Carey, then Vol Soyinka's Death and the King's Horseman, 1975, these are good examples. And of this theme, new and traditional forms and genres, which speak about this particular theme. And the poets such as Tagore and Das, talking about the South, their traditional South Asian poetic genres. So again, the new genres were created, and the old ones, they got evolved, and somehow we see the performative aspects of their work. Let's talk about redefinition and cultural decolonization. Redefinition and cultural colonization, this is taken if we talk about the post-colonial literature. Yes, after post-colonialism, we started to redefine things, and yes, we deconstructed the colonization, and that's how the cultural colonization, we deconstructed, we started to deconstruct the culture colonization, and that's how we reached the cultural decolonization, right? So we talk about the Irish cultural revival here. Irish cultural revival is a very good example, which talks about redefinition and cultural decolonization. So we can see this theme in Margaret Atwood's Surfacing, 1972. We can also think Janet Frame's An Angel of At My Table, 1990, and Patrick White's Voice, 1957. These are the good examples to understand the redefinitions and the cultural decolonization aspect. Now let's talk about rereading colonial history and colonial text. So what is rereading colonial history, or what is the reading of colonial history and the colonial text? The historical integration of colonialism to perceive how it can be seen as different from what it claimed to be, as both an ideology and actual material practice, has always been an important theme for post-colonial writers. So that's how it gets its importance. Works like, examples like Ondaatje's The English Patient, 1992, and Timothy Moore's An Insular Possession, 1986, and Pravar Jhabwala's Heat and Dust, 1975. These are important texts again. And let's not forget Jean Rice's White Sargasso Sea and The Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. Shakespeare's The Tempest has also been redefined and rewritten, and the new lenses where we study the effect of colonialism in the Tempest by Shakespeare, I think, is a very good example of redefining and rereading the colonial history and the colonial text. So the new lenses were Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe. So these are the new lenses and the new viewpoints to broaden our outlook. Broaden our outlook of what we have already read, what has happened. And the next theme is one of the other important themes that is quite relevant in present scenario era: the metropolitan, the margins, and the diaspora. So I think we all are living in an age where we all can understand the diasporic element, that East is East the West is West, the hybridity, and the problems of the individual generating because of the diaspora. So, if we talk about writers like V.S. Naipaul, if we talk about Shobha Day, if we talk about other writers who are diasporic writers in their own stead, we understand the problems of the margins, the diasporics, the metropolitans. Let us now talk about V.S. Naipaul's some examples to understand this theme properly. V.S. Naipaul's Miguel Street, 1959. Then we have the Black Album by Hanif Qureshi. Then we have Timothy Moore, SARS Suite, 1982. And there are many other writers who talk about the diasporic experience of a community in exile. And this image straight away brought up from the metropolitan image in the colonial representation. So it is a powerful creative force, and many post-colonial writers have traveled to hope. Have traveled to the West in hope of a better life and to flee the persecution in their home countries. So this Lonely Londoners from Sam Selvins is again a good example. So there are several examples that we can study to understand all the examples of the uncanny position of the diasporic post-colonial writer. But this is a short video which is giving an introduction on the post-colonial literature, the definition, the thinkers associated with it, if I can call it the movement or the theory, that and the themes associated with the work. The next is the Caribbean hybridity, the new literatures generated. Caribbean hybridity is of the new literatures. The Caribbean is an unusual case as it lacks any indigenous pre-colonial native tradition to return to. So it's a very nice study which talks about the creolized in cultural rather than just a linguistic sense. Excuse me. The next is the post-colonial theory, the criticism. When we talk about the post-colonial theory and the criticism, I've spoken about the themes first because it gives a better understanding of post-colonialism. Now, when we talk about post-colonial theory and we talk about the criticism, we cannot we cannot really study post-colonialism without speaking about Edward Said. And through this, we understand the terms of, in his book of Orientalism, we understand the entire concept of post-colonial. We understand, or we get a deep insight of and about post-colonialism. In post-colonialism, the text, several texts that are the post-colonial text. And in his book, Edward Said's book Orientalism, we get to know about, he has explained the terms Orientalism in great detail, the concept of Orient and Orientalism in great detail in his text Orientalism. And we get to understand the reflections. These are all reflections on exile. Yes, the rest I think would, again, if I take the terms, it needs a complete and a good explanation on the same. So I'm restraining myself from using all kinds of, I don't want to throw jargons actually, but yes, we have to talk about some terms so that you know that these are the terms associated with post-colonialism, and we need to study them naturally from exam point of view and for better understanding always. All right, so that's all for the video. I hope you like the interaction on post-colonialism, and if you want to share something on post-colonialism, you are welcome to. And if you want to, if you have a query, you can come back to me. and I'll try to uh, give you the best of I can on the same topic or others which I have spoken about. Thank you. Bye.